if you have a 10 and under, they are development. No matter how fast they are, they're still in development. Um, let them have fun and let them enjoy the sport and let it be their sport.
Hello, everyone. We are back with another episode. Today we have Coach Cheryl here. She's a founder of the Aquatics Academy, our sponsor for today, and she's also my coworker at Pearland Aquatics. Coach Cheryl, want to say hi to everyone?
Hello, everybody, and it's great to be here. Um, I'm the owner of the Aquatic Academy, and it's a business I started in my backyard when my kids were little. They were 6 months and a year and a half. And I did it because I grew up with near free swimming lessons. So in Ohio, swimming lessons were free. Swim team was free. And so I wanted to duplicate that type of process as closely as possible here in Texas. And so I recertified myself and started giving swimming lessons in my backyard. And it just grew and grew and grew. And now we have the Aquatic Academy, and I coach with Peak.
That's great. For the first half of today's episode, we're gonna keep it on the competitive side of swimming. So, how long have you been a USA swim coach?
I started coaching in 2012, so I'm over 10 years now. Competitive swimming, competitive coaching, year round.
So, what brought you to this sport?
What brought me to the sport, my mom actually never learned how to swim. Five kids, she never learned how to swim. She was really afraid of the water, but she wanted to make sure that we learned how to swim. And so in Ohio, once my older brothers and sisters learned, their coaches were a part of the AAU program, which was a predecessor to USA Swimming, and they started swimming competitively. So I grew up at swim meets. So I've always been around competitive swimming. So as soon as I was able to start coaching at 15, I started coaching swimming.
And you have two childs, a girls and a boys.
Mm-hmm.
Did you teach them how to swim yourself?
Absolutely. They learn from me. And when you teach your own kids how to swim, believe me when I say, do not teach your children how to do things outside of cleaning their room. It's very difficult to wear that extra hat as a parent and then as a coach of something, because on deck they're the
I feel
wildest
that.
ones.
I
They're the
feel that.
wildest ones on deck
I feel
because
that.
you know their potential.
Yes.
But then, it's just mom.
And
I
in
don't
and
want to
in
do
Vietnam, yes.
that.
And in Vietnam, we have a saying like you can't teach your relative at all. Like
Exactly.
I've been with my wife for 10 years, and I could never teach her how to swim at all.
So it's a miracle that I was able to teach them how to swim and get them to the level that they were before they joined competitive
Yeah.
swimming.
And it's the same thing with the struggle of parents trying to teach the kids how to drive and all of that, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. Incidentally, though, we did teach our kids how to
Right.
drive too.
Yeah.
So I guess we're gluttons for punishment.
Yeah. So, how long did they been with the sport? Because they're all grown up now, right?
Right. I They have been swimming since they were a year and a half, 2 years old. Uh, we used to amaze people because Leia could jump in and swim across the pool. But they started competitive swimming as soon as they were old enough to join the team. So since they were five, and Alex swam from 5, 6 all the way to high school, and then Leia swam through high school.
So, you taught them how to swim when they
Mhm.
was young kids, but have you ever coached them as swim coach?
I was the direct coach their first year with Peak. I coached them. Leia only one season, and Alex off and on for maybe 2 seasons, and it was very, very difficult. And I learned early on that they needed somebody else to coach them. They got more out of the sport when I was not their coach, but I was their biggest cheerleader. And so for me, being a great uh, competitive swim parent is to drop your kid off and say, have the best fun, have the best time, uh, enjoy what you're doing. And when they get out of the water from a competition, I love watching you swim. I love seeing you swim. And just leave it at that. I and you've been at meets with Leia. I don't tell her anything about her stroke. I don't tell her, oh, you need to put your arm in here, and if you keep your chin down, I don't give her any pointers. I just say, wow, it's so much fun to see you swim. And that's it. And I let you guys do all the coaching.
Yeah.
At most, I'd say, go talk to Coach Tuck. He'll tell you something.
Yeah, that's great because now, right, with the swimming scenes that we have now, a lot of coaches need it all around. So a lot of parents, like take the learning and step up and be coaching. And sometimes it's like really difficult to find a balance between, all right, you are focusing on your kids or do you have your swimmer on the side, right?
Oh yes, and I when I'm at meets when they were younger and they were swimming in the age group that I coached 10 and under. It was very difficult. I'm like, oh, Leia's in the water, because I would be so involved with coaching my swimmers in my group that I had to make sure that I found time to watch my own children swim. And my son, he missed an event because I was coaching, and I'm turn around. Where's Alex? I don't know.
Yeah.
Missed that one. It's okay.
So they swim throughout their school years, right? And then they move on to college and stuff. So they drop off a little bit when they move to college because college work and stuff like that. So were there, any impact, any of, or I try to talk them into keep on swimming, or you let them decide it, what they want?
I let them decide. At the beginning of each season, I would ask them, do you want to swim on the team? And if they said yes, then I would let them know that I'm going to make sure that I'm going to get you up and we're going to go. So you can't tell me I don't feel like swimming today because you make a commitment. So I emphasize the commitment to the team and the commitment to going to practice. Not that they had to swim, but that I wanted them to make their commitment and keep their promises.
But the commitment sometimes for, younger kids is such a big ask because
it is.
I've been there, done that. My entire middle school of 4 years in Vietnam, I had to do 9 practice a week, which is 3 of the morning from 5 o'clock to 6:30 before my school at 7, and then every evening from like 5:30 to 8, right? For kids at that age, sleeping, eating, and schoolwork and all of that, and then you have to wake up as early as 5, or if not earlier, because you warm up and starting at 5 is a lot. So a lot of time I just don't want to wake up. Like, do you really have to drag them out of bed and do all that?
There have been times where we had to really get in it. Like, you have got to get up. Let's go. But Leia actually didn't mind it as much because she actually wanted to be there. When she reached her turning point where she turned it into her sport instead of my mom's making me swim, when she decided that she wanted to swim and wanted to get better, she actually enjoyed getting up, and she had like 95% attendance. So she made it herself, especially when she learned how to drive. I would, she would say, I'm going to practice. All right, have fun. It's like 5 a.m. I wasn't even getting out of the bed. I was just yelling out to her, see you later.
And the crazy thing is she do that without getting paid, right? Like back then I got paid and I still just don't want to wake up.
Because she loved to swim. And I think because I wasn't her coach, she was able to keep the joy of swimming, and she made her friends, and it was what she wanted to do. So I let her do that. Like Alex, he was doing swimming, and then he decided he didn't want to do it anymore. So I let him quit the sport because I didn't want to have to keep dragging him. And I was his coach a little bit more, and so his direct coach, and so it did make it harder because I was on deck. Because I'm like, Alex, I need you to go faster. And you have this is your greatest potential. And he hated when I
I
told
mean,
him reach your potential.
he
He
took a
would
little
say
break,
that.
right? But now he's one of the best swim instructor that we have all around. He's great with kids, you know?
Actually, that is true. So once I let him stop and do his own thing, he did band, he did karate. He's a black belt. Actually, Lay's a black belt too. Once they were able to do their own things, um, yeah, Alex is back in aquatics and as a swimmer. But yeah, he's number one instructor. He
Yeah.
teaches everybody.
Yeah. So you said karate and stuff like that. So what other sport or other side things that your child did back in the day?
And that also helped with them stay in the sport longer because I did not limit them to just swim. They both did Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts. They played soccer. Leia danced. She did hip hop. Alex and Leia were both percussionists in school, so they had sectionals and they went to competitions. They played pickleball with their friends. They go out and do other things. Alex was on the football team. He did athletics. They have to do things. He actually got to go to the Rose Bowl and march in the parade. So keeping them well rounded is one way to really help them out.
Yeah.
Also, they had such a full schedule, it taught them how to prioritize
Right.
what they wanted to do. So if they wanted to keep swimming, they had to make it work with doing their other things. And they carved out time for their friends
Right.
just to hang out with their friends. So we made sure that I protected their schedule.
Yeah.
So yeah, if Sunday was a friend day, we wouldn't put anything else on Sunday.
Yeah. So I have not like directly coached Leia for like any season, but I always see her in the sport. So she have a great turning point that she just start going off and just get faster and faster. But then college come, right? She go away. How was that talk about? All right, are you keep on swimming in college, or you just gonna drop it? How was that talk look like?
We thought that she was actually I didn't think she was going to swim in college, so I never brought it up at all.
Okay.
And she said, "I think I'm going to swim." And this was at the beginning. This was at the end of her junior year. So we're like, "Okay, let's figure out what we need to do to get you swimming." So we registered her with Swim Cloud, and we put out there that she was looking for a team. And she started getting college coaches calling her and talking to her and emailing her. And we started looking at schools and we went on college visits and we looked for teams where she could have been in the top 4 or 5 within different events or strokes. And it turned out that, she would have been a great D2 school swimmer, but as we looked at the facilities in and around Texas, the facilities were actually smaller than most of the schools that we competed in with the club team or even the high school team. So the facilities were quite small. Most of the colleges that are D2 and 3 in Texas, they're in 6-lane pools, which I thought was really weird. And so she's like, "That's kind of weird. I don't know if I'm going to do doubles in a 6-lane pool. I'm used to swimming at U of H and
Yes.
state of the art facilities, 10 lanes.
I can see
long
that.
course."
Right. And then if she wanted to meet, she have to go like out of state and stuff like that. But with how close you and Leia is it's gonna be hard for her to decide
Right.
that for sure. I
Yeah,
see
right.
that.
And I mean, she's 4 hours away now
Yeah.
by drive, so it's already pretty far.
Yeah.
And so it would be very hard. And swimming in college is a heavy, heavy, heavy commitment. It's 16 weeks of doubles plus dry lands and nutrition on top of school. So you have to really want to do it.
Right.
It's very rewarding. I think it could be totally awesome, but you have to really want to do it. I think more kids should, but you don't want to force anybody into that
Yeah.
kind of schedule. It won't last.
Yeah. So that's great on your family side of thing. Now talk about your profession. You are one of the best with 10 and unders. Like a lot of time I just nervous and refuse to work with 8 and under kids, but you just the best with it
I'm
from my
close to
point of
their
view.
height.
Yes.
I'm close to their height. I'm
So
25 feet tall.
every year send kids to the next levels. We meet Gulf age group champs, tags, and all of that, and turn them from B time double B to A time swimmer, all of that.
Hmm.
So is there any secret or any hidden technique you do?
The secret to really getting kids to that next level is showing them that you believe in them. And so I meet them where they are and I fill in the gaps. And so um, I hold them to a standard and I create this excitement about being in my group. And so they want to swim with me. If you ask the kids on our team now, what group do you want to swim in? Oh, I'm trying to get to the blue group. I want to swim with Coach Charyl. So I keep it fun. It's fundamentals, but it's fun. We do treasure box. We play a lot of games in practice. We do a lot of challenges, and I speak to them just like I'm speaking to you. I don't dumb it down. I do call my drills silly things,
Yeah.
but I make it fun and I let them know this is what we do. And we set out with goal setting early on, and I help them make goals that they can actually get, and then they build their confidence one practice at a time, 125 at a time. So their confidence is so high by the time they leave my group, they're like, I can swim a 30-second 50 fly, and we get them really close. Their 10 and under is really close to beating that 30-second barrier.
But the scene of 10 and under is just so wide, right? We have some kids that been in the sport for 4 or 5 years at that point, or we have kids that just fresh to the sport their first season and they like have the talent to like already make it there. So how do you balance between those two? Like the kids that been veterans at that point with that
Right.
4 years experience and like the new kids.
Well, in the group, I set it up to where um, at the first part of practice we're all just doing our warm up, and I use the transitions to talk to each swimmer one on one to give them the drill that they need. And I'll tell the rest of the group, today we're going to work on butterfly, and this is the drill we're going to do. So let's everybody help Susie, and we're all going to rally around Susie. Or, okay, you know, this person, Bobby's our kick king. So let's everybody try to stay within 2 seconds of Bobby. And so that way, instead of being in competition with each other, they're actually helping each other. They're helping their lane get better. And they're cheering for each other within the sets and within their 25s. And so they don't feel like they're alone doing it. And I make sure that, everybody knows that thank you for doing this. And I make sure that I tell them when they're doing a really good job. And I let them demonstrate to each other, and we give everybody a round of applause. And it's all about creating that positive and helping them become positive with each other. And at the end of practice, they have to give each other high fives, and they have to tell each other, you know what, you did a really good job at that, so they can recognize each other, and that gives them more confidence.
So for that group, we talk about them like go to the next level, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how do you explain it to the kids, and then how do you explain it to the parents? Because we are getting into the champ season, and your group have like what 3 different swim meet that they could qualify for, right?
Right.
So how do you approach that?
Well, for the kids that are the first year in my group, I let them know that, hey, you've done a great job getting into my group, and we slowly bring down the kick tempos or speed up the kick tempos, but we bring the intervals down lower and lower and lower for them, and I give them. We don't swim just one thing. The whole group swims a program. And so they all swim the same events. And so that helps keep them aligned and together. And it keeps them with their goals to go further and go to the next level and the next level. And so that way they can inspire each other to swim at these different events and these different meets. And then they understand from the beginning that not everybody can go to that meet. And so they're happy when their lane mate gets to go to the higher meet, and that gives them something to go for, because they have a vision of, oh, I can see what I need to do. I see what this person does at practice. So if I can stay within what they're doing at practice, then maybe I can go to the next meet. And for the parents, at the beginning of the year, I lay out all the meets and I tell them exactly, everybody's going to swim the 500. Well, my son's never done the 200 free before. It's like, it's okay. We're all going to swim the 500. And I'll spend 2 days teaching them, how do we count the 500? What does 500 feel like? So we'll swim 20 25s. We'll do 5 100s. We'll do 10 50s. And we'll do a combination of them. And so they can feel it. And then they know. And the first time they swam the 500, they blew their minds. They themselves were like, I can't believe I did that. I'm like, I believed in you. I knew you could. And I tell them all the time, I'm not going to ask you to do anything that I know that you can't do. And so they trust and believe me, and then that gives them more confidence.
So that's make it
they
like
swim out of their minds.
So that make it like a big group challenge, and everyone
exactly.
just cheer
and
for each other.
And they cheer for each other. They count for each other, and it's not scary anymore because they know everybody's doing it. And if Coach Charyl says I can do it, then I know I can do it.
Right.
It's really it's about the mind.
Yeah.
That's how I get them to go to age group chants and tags. It's getting their mindset correctly, and
yes.
then they're able to do way more than they think they could ever do before.
Yes. And because a lot of time, right, like at that age, the newer, younger parents, they don't really know the sport yet. So
right.
There's a little hesitate and all of that in there, a little protective
right.
for their swimmer.
Yes, they're like, I don't know if they want to do the 500. I'm like, they'll be fine.
Yeah.
It's okay. I'm just letting you know, they're going to do it, period.
Yes.
And
that's
so,
great, yes.
And you have to give kids a standard that you want to hold them to. And most of the time, they will rise to your challenges. So you let them set their goals, and then I help create their steps to reach the goals. But it's all in their mind.
Yeah. So, but also at that age, right? A lot of them get fast really quick. Like they got an early like success, right? So were there any situations where the parents got a little ahead of themselves, like they feel the success of the kids and then they try to push it way further?
Absolutely every season that happens. And I tell them, what I specifically tell the parents is, we have to walk before we can run. And there are so many different levels. Your child is great in math in first grade. They can add and subtract like nobody's business. You're not going to start teaching them calculus right away. You wait for calculus until they're ready for calculus. They're old enough for calculus. And there's a whole lot of other math between adding and subtraction and calculus that they need to know how to do. You don't jump to the end just because they might be able to understand the concept and do it, but you don't want to leave out all those other in between steps. And so, same thing with 10&Unders. Yeah, we could give them really hard sets. We can give them threshold sets. They can do, 10 hundreds on 130 and, decrease it and whatever it is. We can have them doing those things, but it's not fun. And I want it to be fun so mentally they can stay strong, because we're asking them to be in this sport for over 10 years. I mean, Leia was on the team from the time she was 6 to the time she was 18. Right. That's a lot of years to be on the team. And for her to love it the entire time and even to when she was driving, that she drove herself to practice at 5:30 in the morning. You can't do that if you don't love it.
Right, because by the time they are 10 and they're already in the sport for 4 years, right? Like how much more do they left in there?
They still have 8 more years.
Right, if not more. And again, we always aim for the long shot, like for the distance, for the longevity of swimmers, and like their
Right.
success later when they go to
Yeah, we want them to
college
peak
and all
when
of
they're
that.
17, 18, 19,
Right,
not when they're 10.
right. And
And
then
so,
13 and 14, they just burn out. Right,
exactly.
because when we go to the golf clinic, one of the coach from Nitro said, look at the top levels competition finals, and then you just remember the name of the 10 and under, and then 3 years later turn around, how many
They're,
of them is there?
they're not in the sport at all. They're not on any team.
Right,
In fact, even though every year I get kids that go to the age group champs and tags, it is not actually my goal to send kids to those meets. My goal is to get them to love the sport enough that they want to swim as fast as they can swim, because their best may not be the best. And it's just getting them to understand that. And so a lot of times, I don't even talk to them about times. I surely don't talk to them about tags times. But every year, I have 2 or 3 that make it. And it's because I don't put that pressure on them to, okay, we got to send 5 kids to tags. Because then, again, that takes the fun out of it for the
right,
little ones.
yes,
And so, if I wouldn't send any 10-year-olds to tags if they didn't make it, I would not be sad
like
about
pushing
that.
that, right?
I'm not pushing it.
Yeah,
But because I don't push it, but I give them the skills and things that they need that they can succeed at that level, that's why they're making it.
yeah. So for the young parents, like we said, what would you suggest for them to talk to their kids, after practice or on the way to practice?
I would tell them, make sure you listen to your coach and have the most fun. And what's fun? Swimming fast, doing your drills. Did you get the drill on the first time? Awesome. But I do not give them techniques or pace or how to do this. Make sure you streamline. None of that stuff. Just, are you having fun? What did you learn about your coach today? What did you learn, or what did you talk to your fellow swim team members with today?
Yeah,
What fun drill did you do? So just talk to them, but not about specifically swimming. Just talk about the process and how much fun they're having.
yeah. So what about rewarding the kids? Because nowadays we have a lot of parents
That like to reward kids for
right,
things. I am the great believer of a hearty high five. That's all they need. Hearty high five. Or we can do, like with Leia, if she dropped a significant amount of time, I wouldn't tell her this before, because that's adding pressure.
okay,
So after the meet, if she actually dropped a ton of time across her events or whatever it was, if she had something that was like, oh yes, we should celebrate that, or hey, you did butterfly and you didn't get disqualified this time, because there was a time when she was getting disqualified and butterfly all the time, then she could have an anything Leia Wednesday. And that's a day where, oh, I want to go to the movies, or I'm going to go to the park, or I want to, then we can do that. But it wasn't about, oh, if you get a B time, I'll give you $20. No,
right.
that's unnecessary
Yeah,
pressure.
because
Unnecessary pressure.
there's always story around that, if your kids drop this much, oh, I get you a toys, or something like that.
No. Because dropping time for 10 and unders, it's
It's natural,
it happens, it doesn't happen.
right?
And it has nothing to do with how prepared they are per se. I mean, they need to go to practice, they need to do all that stuff. But if they actually drop time, was it cold? Did they get a warm up? Did they sleep the night before? Were they drinking, Kool-Aid or having candy? Or did their best friend say, you're not my friend anymore, and they're upset? there's so many variables, and for 10 and unders, they're typically swimming hundreds and fifties and 25s. Those are the three hardest distances to actually drop time in. It leaves very small margin of error,
Right.
and so you can't predetermine the outcome. All you can do is say, "Hey, if you make it to all of your events without missing them, then I'll get, you can have a
Yeah.
reward." Or um, if you remember to touch with two hands on your breaststroke today, I will give you a reward. Rewarding the process and what they're doing instead of the outcome turns it into their sport and it makes it more fun. It takes a lot of pressure off.
Right.
So just make it to your events, and then I'm happy.
That's great. Yeah. So that's gonna be the first half of the episode. We're gonna go to a little break, and then when we come back, we're gonna talk more about your swim lesson program.
All right, great.
Afraid of the water? You can learn how to swim. That's our motto at the Aquatic Academy, and we welcome everyone. Our primary focus is safety and comfort in the water. Our swim school offers one-on-one and small group learning. Swim for lifelong exercise or train for triathlons. We offer an all-ages swim program led by results-driven, detail-focused, highly certified instructors. Wade into the water. Visit theaquaticacademy.net.
And we back. On this second half, we're gonna talk more about the Aquatic Academy, like a swim lesson, a swim school that you created years ago. So can you tell us how this come about? When did you started your business?
Okay. With my business, I wanted my kids to learn how to swim for sure. I learned how to swim when I was 3, and I wanted to give that to my kids. And so I set out in our backyard just teaching them how to get used to the water. And my neighbors looked over the fence. "Hey, what are you doing?" "I'm teaching my kids how to swim." "Oh, my kids need to know how to swim." And so I taught my neighbors how to swim. Then I taught my behind us neighbors how to swim. And the neighbors on the other side how to swim. And my friends from college kids how to swim. And when my neighbor across the street said, "Can you teach my coworker how to swim?" Then I said, "All right, I guess we can make this a business. I'm already at home. We have the pool." So I said, "Sure, bring them over." And back then, my neighbors would bring me dinner. That was their
That's the
payment.
payment.
That was my payment. Oh, I ate well.
That's
I
nice.
ate well.
Yes.
And when the coworkers came, I'm like, "Is $5 enough?" And so it was so cheap. It was not even funny.
Right. So now, for the swim school, you offer from like what, 6 months
From
all the
6
way to
months
adults?
to adults how to swim. We've done water aerobics. We do Safety Academy now, where we offer first aid, CPR, lifeguarding, swim instructor, Boy Scout, Girl Scout swim test, merit badges. I go to schools and I give safety talks. I go to career days, training, just everything.
So
aquatic
when you do
safety.
swim lessons, and nowadays a lot of people have pools in their backyard, so a lot of parents gonna be like, "All right, I'm sitting there, I'm watching the instructor, teaching my kids," and then when they get to their house, the parents gonna try to implicate the same thing, and try to work extra or do some other things, and at the same time, now all of the knowledge is online and stuff like that. So 1 or 2 lessons, and the parents feels like, "Oh, I can do the same." So how do you feel about that?
We have had parents that have thought that, but they still come back to us because they realize that without that coach's eye, without the why are we learning it in this order? Why is this the drill that we do to fix this problem or that problem? Without that specific knowledge and the knowledge of what to do for different body types and buoyancy, they do come back.
Right.
And I've had parents come back. Well, we try to work on it at home, but they don't seem to understand it the same way when they're with you. There's a reason for that.
Yeah.
Because we continually, I have my instructors, we continually study and train and practice and learn about the sports and the science behind the sport and the physics behind the sport. And that's why we're able to do the, arguably the best lessons around, because we are professionals.
Yeah.
And a lot of the times the parents themselves don't know how to swim, but they think, oh, Coach Cheryl makes it look easy, I'll just do it. And that's what I'm supposed to make it look easy, but we're actually doing a lot of very hard things and a lot of hard concepts.
Right, and that is the same type of thing with, competitive swimming. Parents, they look at, legends, Olympians, the way they swim, and again try to show their kids that, put it on the big screen, and hey, why don't you do this and do that?
And the Olympians, the way they swim, it's best for them. It's not meant for everybody.
It's
not
years
all
of training.
And it's years of training, years of having a coach's eye make it the best for them and their body type. And I mean, unless you have Michael Phelps' wingspan, you don't need to do butterfly like him, because it's not going to help you.
Right. You need to figure out your own stroke.
You have to figure out your own stroke, and in order to do that, you have to understand the physics behind the stroke to make it work for you and make it the most efficient for you.
Yeah.
And that's why I don't usually prescribe or tell parents to look on the internet for videos. I occasionally send videos to parents so their child can see a video, because I'm going to be specifically teaching this drill at our next practice. So I like the kids to look at it so they can have an idea of what to do, and so that's in their mind, and that helps them, they sleep on it, and then their body's able to do it better. But it's not meant for the parents to go and teach them, because the parents aren't going to know what they're looking for. And there's a lot of just wild stuff out there on the internet that, oh, look, my son just swam 50 free in 3 minutes. Look how awesome he is. He won his event. He was the first in the heat. And what you don't see is the heat's full of 4-year-olds or, nobody can actually swim the distance.
Yeah, context with it, yes.
Exactly.
For sure.
I say I can sing and dance, but nobody wants to see that.
Yes.
And so it's all relative, so.
Yes. So, talking about that, how do you feel about equipment nowadays? There's a lot of,
There's a lot of equipment out there. I do like equipment during our swimming lessons, but I use it in a very specific way for the specific drill, and that's that. I am very particular about how you hold the kickboard and the size of the kickboard. Like really thick kickboards seems like a good idea, but for little kids, they're just dangling off the kickboard, and that's not good. It hurts their shoulders, all sorts of other things. Lessons in swimming vest and floaty suits gives false confidence.
Right.
And you want to learn how to do this stuff. I call it people power, using your own body as much as possible.
Right.
Because if you fall in, oh, I'm sorry, just a second, I'm falling. Let me go get my life jacket before I finish falling in the pool.
Happen.
That doesn't happen.
Right.
So you want to make sure that they can do it on their own. And I don't want to, create an environment where parents are buying all this extra stuff that they don't actually need. I mean, I've seen people with fins and a mask and a snorkel and paddles swimming all at the same time. There's no need for all of that.
Right.
I mean, it looks really cool, but it's unnecessary.
Right.
It's unnecessary.
So, for parents that, let's say, want to do some extra work with their child, like, what could they do?
Well, I do give homework for some kids, especially if they're afraid of the water, but my homework makes sense for them. So the extra stuff might be have a blowing contest. Blow in my hand for 10 seconds. Who can blow the longest? Who can blow the hardest? Let's blow ping pong balls across the table. It's little skills that will translate into better swimming later, but it's not, we have a pool at home, I'm going to go home and work on this. I don't want them to do that. Unless it's kicking. You can never kick too much. So if you want to do something at home, grab a kickboard and kick. Yeah. Kick as fast as you can without bending your knee too much. Yes. So kick. You want to do something at home? Do sit-ups. Do push-ups. Do crunches. Do yoga. Do jumping jacks. Jump rope. Those are the things that I want them to do. But as far as I have a pool at home, what should I do in my pool? Have fun. Dive for toys.
Yep.
Chase the rubber duck. Yep. Blow the rubber duck across the pool. Have fun in your pool. That's what it's for. It's recreation.
Yeah. So then, how about the transition from a swim lesson swimmer to be a competitive and year-round swimmer? What is that gap? What is that transition feels like from you as the swim lesson instructor and then a coach? Like, what is that difference?
When I first started coaching, I was like, I'm coaching from the deck. I'm not in the water. This is
right.
Really
it's
weird.
Nice.
And so that was a little weird to get out of the water. And so for the transition, you slowly do it. I would do some of the class in the water, and then I would do some of the class out of the water to get the swimmers used to not having their coach in the water with them the whole time. You gradually increase the distances and the repeats and the rest that you give them to where it feels a little bit more like a swim practice. And I bring the drills that we do from swim team right down into the lessons. So the kids that come from the Aquatic Academy, they already know most of the drills that we use for peak because I've incorporated them into the lesson program, and all that stuff adds up to making it a lot easier on the kids to transition.
Yeah. So then do you feel like, you have two different voices, two different personnel when you do lessons and then coaching on deck?
I don't feel that I have two different personalities because on the team, I want them to have so much fun, and I'm so used to repeating myself in different ways and using the mannerisms to explain lessons that I do the same thing with the team. And so I feel that it's pretty close to the same. My struggle is when I'm teaching and coaching adults for lessons or tries and things like that, not to say, okay, now we're going to, it is not to do that to the adults.
Right, so
that's the hard part.
Yes, that's my favorite part about like doing this job, right? Because I feel like one, I set my expectation for each swimmer when I see them, and then yes, set our levels to meet their levels, and we can help them improve. So for me, I feel like I have different voices when I do a swim lesson or I coach. When I work with young kids, yes, I can be, not as sweet as you do with the young kids, but I can be more, soft and, try to be a little funny. But then when I work with the year-round group, especially the older kids, I feel like they've been here for a while. They know the sport. So I don't need to like sugarcoat it a lot of things, right? Like when they been told multiple times or doing stuff, I can change the way or I can raise my voice a little bit, type of thing. Right. That's one of my, the fields of difference for instructor and coaching.
Also, since I'm a parent, I have that mom voice.
Yeah.
And so knowing the mom voice also helps out because I
Right.
can mom voice in swimming lessons and as a coach,
Yeah.
and so um, that helps me keep the way my tone kind of consistent
Right.
between the different hats that I wear.
Right. So then, there are situations when parents of swimmer, they try to do videos filming all the new tech out there, underwater videos, all of that, or um, endless pool techniques and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
Would you recommend that?
I would recommend it if their coach is going to work with them,
Right.
not for them. Because again, there there's an 80-hour class you can take to understand what you're looking at underwater, but unless the parent is taking that class, then they're just looking at stuff under the water. What is wrong? It's very hard to spot the differences unless you've been trained to spot the differences.
Right.
And so, save your money. Take fun videos under the water. Watching your kids just smile and laugh, but to give them critiques over that, I think it's overkill and too much. Plus, the kids need a downtime. What Going to practice, going to swimming lessons, that is what they need for in the water, and leave your other time to do other things because they do get burned out. They don't want to focus on swimming all the time.
Right.
It's
But
very
then-
hard on their brains.
Well, but then parents, right? They said that the kids love swimming. That's all they talk about all the time,
Right.
right? So then, was that like actually the kids talk about, or was that the parents
The
want to talk
parents
about?
probably do. The kids probably really do love swimming, and even if they want to talk about it, that's fine. But you don't. You have to give them something else to talk about. You have to give them other things to do as a parent to keep them well-rounded.
Yeah.
And so, even if they are requesting, please take me, I want to learn how to do my dive better, have them talk to their coach or their swim instructor and let the instructor or the coach come up with a plan of action to help appease the swimmers or ease the swimmers' mind at when they can expect to become better. Because
Right.
it's small incremental things. It takes a long time. Rome was not built in one day.
Yes, for sure.
So you can't just fix a dive overnight. It takes several passes. And so, I mean, if you want to pay somebody to help your child, please look at the Aquatic Academy. Otherwise, trust your coach.
So
and it'll happen.
yes, so there's one more topic I want to cover, which is the comparison of swimmers. A lot of parents, like even with their own child, right? Why don't my other kids learn as fast as the other one, and why don't they swim at the same speed, even though like they are siblings, they or even twins
Right.
sometimes, and they go to the same swim lessons, right?
I've had twins in lessons before, and everyone is different. Even identical twins, they are still different. They're two separate people. Everybody has different thoughts in their heads, and so because of that, how they pick up the skills, how they interpret the skills, and the skills come out in the water, it's different. So you can't compare them because they bring different things to the pool with them and different experiences. Even though it might be similar, it's not the exact same. And so you have to meet each swimmer where they are individually. And you can't compare your kids or your own kids or your kids with other kids because it's just too different. There's too many variables
Right.
to do that. All you can do is celebrate your child, this one child. So between Alex and Leia, Alex was great at breaststroke from the beginning. So, but I did not expect or try to force Leia into breaststroke. You know, she had to come to it herself. You know, and actually, I personally thought her butterfly wound up being a much better stroke for her,
Yeah.
even though she loved breaststroke. But her butterfly turned out to be beautiful and amazing.
Yeah.
But you can't compare them. They have to have their own stroke.
Yes.
Their own stroke.
Yeah. So it's great having you here today, and we talked about swimming all throughout. Is there anything else you wanna talk to the audience and stuff like that?
Just fundamentals in swimming is where it's about, and remember, it begins with fun. And so, if you have a 10 and under, they are development. No matter how fast they are, they're still in development. Let them have fun and let them enjoy the sport and let it be their sport. Um, you know, you take them, you feed them, you pick them up hopefully on time. But you know, coaching and parenting and swimming, it's a triangle. Everybody's working together for the betterment of the sport. Stay in your lane if you're a swimmer. Do the parent thing if you're a parent, and let the coaches do their thing.
Yes.
And if you all work together, then it's a great team, and it's going to be awesome.
All right, thank you. It's been a great episode. So if you've been here to the end, please leave a comment and like the channel if you enjoy the content. See you in the next episode. Thank you.